Man, it's crazy. No, I'm serious. She actually choreographed this dance, which is actually the craziest thing. But no, Nick, I'm telling you that for the Wednesday dance, that's all her. She didn't have any help. Nick, she choreographed it herself. Welcome back to the Papa Meat channel. How you doing? How you doing? Come on in and sit on down. Today we're going to be talking about Scream 6, starring Jenna Ortega, and I don't know anybody else really. Oh, and Courtney Cox. She's back too. I had no idea that there was 6 Scream movies. I saw the trailer to this movie, and when I saw that it was Scream 6, I thought to myself, what happened to 4 and 5? Don't remember those coming out, which apparently 4 came out in 2011, and then Scream 5 came out last year? What? That actually blew my mind. But if you know anything about the Scream series, you know, Scream is one of the most iconic names in the slasher genre, being extremely pivotal in the 90s with flipping the expectations, flipping the tropes, using audiences' preconceived notions of what, you know, the very formulaic slasher genre had built up to by that point, with the extreme slasher fatigue that we had from all of the 80s, you know, Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, Halloween, and then like the billions of clones that came after that, you know, put like a list here. Oh my God, 700 slasher movies that all follow the same formula. How fun. But luckily, in the 90s, we were saved. I believe it was 1996. Scream 1 came out, directed by the brilliant Wes Craven, who also did Nightmare on Elm Street. You know, it took the idea of what a slasher movie should be and, you know, flipped it on its head. One thing that was kind of cool was that you had Drew Barrymore on the cover of the Scream poster, but, you know, they kill her off in the first scene in the movie, so it's just disregarding what the final girl is and establishing somebody else as that, and, you know, playing with the tropes and having the characters also be self-referential, you know, very campy, very cheesy, fourth wall breaking kind of stuff, and it's very fun. The infamous little ghost face, the mask that everybody knows, has been parodied to death. I mean, my God, when Scary Movie came out, when I was younger, everybody did the "what's that" thing. What's up? Ugh. Glad those times are over. It would have been funny if in Scream 6 they actually included that. Today's video is sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends. You've heard the name, but let me tell you what you've been missing out on. Raid has hundreds of champions to collect, a super in-depth RPG battle system, amazing graphics, and intense boss fights. But wait, there's more! To celebrate Raid's 4th anniversary, we're hosting a dinner party, and I need your help figuring out who to invite. Here's who I'm thinking for the 4 most wanted champions. Ronda Rousey, legendary champion based off the MMA fighter extraordinaire. Bellinor, attack champion from the High Elf faction. Juliana, epic magic champion from the Sacred Order faction. And Talia. Talia has a really hard-hitting A2, and using her signature move, Nuke Her, guarantees you're gonna do well. Comment down below who you think would make the best dinner guest. But that's not all. Since Raid's 4th anniversary is finally here, there's a ton of incredible offers, free gifts, promo codes, events, and brand new fusion event where you guys can get your hands on an anniversary legendary champion. If you haven't started playing yet, then what are you waiting for? Use my link in the description or scan my QR code to get insane bonuses. We are talking epic champion Kalan the Shrike and other useful things. Thank you to Raid for sponsoring this video, and back to the video. From 1996 until right now in 2023, we are up to Scream 6. And before we get into spoilers and all that, I give it a 5 out of 10. You know, should you go see this movie? I'd say, why not? If you like the old movies, you might like this one too. But without further ado, let's talk about Scream 6. Scream, just all the Screams. When Scream came out, the big thing was that there's 2 killers at the end. You know, always in typical slasher films, it's always one killer who has a motive. But in this one, it was a multiple series of killers that really kind of like, you know, flip people on their head. They're like, oh my God, this is crazy. I just want to briefly go over all the ghost faces real quick so you're all caught up to speed on all the previous killers. Because it's not just one guy, it changes each movie. So, you know. Scream 1. Billy Loomis, who wants revenge for Billy's dad cheating with Sydney's mom, and Stu, he's just kind of along for the ride. He's a big horror fan, and he's like, I just want to be in the movie. Very fourth wall breaking, very fun, and it all just starts with a weird love triangle. It's a fun motive. It's just a weird, pissed off teenager who's just like, I'm gonna start dating this girl, and I'm gonna mess with her psychologically, and I'm gonna murder this, and you know, then people are gonna think this, and it's a fun build-up. You know, you should watch it. If you haven't seen Scream 1, it's good. It's a classic. You gotta watch it. But that leads us into Scream 2, which is Billy's mom who wants revenge on Sydney for killing Billy. Her sidekick is Mickey, who is a film student who wants who helps her out for tuition money. Kind of has like a Friday the 13th, the first one, where the mom's pissed off that her Down syndrome child was all bullied and drowned in a lake. You know, sure, I'm pissed off mom. You know, who wouldn't be pissed off that their kid got murdered? Scream 3, the Ghostface is Roman Bridger, who is Sydney's mom's illegitimate child and got Billy started started on the murders so Sidney would notice him. He is the only ghost face to kill alone, so that's how they switched the expectations on you there. The first 2 movies, it's always been 2 killers. This movie, it's been 1 killer. That was the last movie that came out in 2000. Now we skip 11 years into the future, right? 11 years in the future, Scream 4 comes out, and Jill is Sidney's cousin and is jealous of Sidney's life, wishes she was the last girl. Charlie is the accomplice. So basically, we have a girl who's just like, wow, Sidney, I wish that my friends were killed so I could get all this attention. And then we have the Kevin McAllister brother. What the fuck's his name? Macaulay Culkin. A Culkin brother is just along for the ride, probably because he wants some sniz. And then lastly, we have Scream. It's just called Scream, but if they put the 5V in the M, fuck you. Scream 5, Sam's boyfriend Richie and his secret lover Amber wanted to provide more source material for the in-universe stab movie franchise, which is based on the Scream killings. It's like an interesting thing, wanting more material from the, like, even more meta in-universe movies of a movie about, the killings that we're seeing now. It's fun. So we're up to this point. All in all, like, as a franchise, it's not bad. I mean, like, 2 and 3 aren't, that good. I had no idea 4 and 5 even existed. But, like, all in all, it's not egregious. It's not like, Jason X, dude. You know what I mean? Yeah. But that leads us up to this pivotal moment where now, here we are with Scream 6, which still focuses on Sam from the last movie and her little sister, Jenna Ortega. So Jenna Ortega and Sam, who no name, who cares? She's not Wednesday Addams, sweetie. And we have a lot of, through the years, it's been a lot of reoccurring cast of characters, so there's some people in here. Courtney Cox looks like the Crypt Keeper in this movie. I just want to throw that out there now before I forget. Move on to spoilers for Scream 6, so if you want to be surprised and all that kind of shit, don't watch any further. But let's talk about it. Before we even get into any of this, guys, I just don't want to waste your time. Jenna Ortega does not do a viral TikTok dance in this, so if that deters you from seeing it, I completely understand. God bless. I hope you enjoyed the movie review. So as a brief summary of going into Scream 6 is that it's a continuation from Scream 5 where Sam and her sister, Jenna Ortega, can't even remember, what's her name in the movie? Do you remember? Tara. Now live in New York City, and Jenna Ortega is going to college, and Sam's just kind of there because, last year people were murdered and she's all freaked out. It's Scream, but New York. That's the general vibe. We're not in a small town anymore. Now, how is Ghostface going to kill all of these people in New York City, the city of people who don't give a shit about anybody else except themselves? That's crazy. Now that we have the premise out of the way, because that's the premise, they're in New York City, Ghostface is back, we know he's back, but how do they deal with it in New York? Every Scream movie is comprised of 3 things. 1, who is the Ghostface killer? What's the big Scooby-Doo mystery? Who gets unmasked and who's revealed? 2, the kills. Having Ghostface run around and kill people, stabbing people mostly. It's mostly stabs. I wish I had a number counter for how many times each character has been stabbed in this franchise, because some characters could get stabbed like 57 times through the period of like however many years, and they're fine. And then somebody could get stabbed like twice in the shoulder and then they're dead. So it's like, And then number 3, how do they subvert the tropes of the slasher genre, or how do they subvert the tropes of the Scream franchise? Those are kind of what we're looking at here with this. So first off, let's just start off with, who is the Ghostface killer? Ooh. Isn't Ghostface also a rapper name? I feel like each movie gets a little more convoluted than the last, and I think that's fine. I think that the movies can be kind of, whatever. It kind of has a Saw vibe, where it's just like, who's Jigsaw this time? Who's the master, the puppet master? In this movie, it is, and like I said, spoils, it's the cop. And the problem with this is that the cop, who is the worst actor in the film, which is actually surprising, which if we had to break it down real quick, the 2 worst performances in the movie are the cop and Jenna Ortega. I simply cannot believe how bad she is. As like a rising star, holy shit. Also, this other guy, the cop, he's been in tons of movies. I've seen him in some movies where you're like, oh, he's pretty good. Horrible. Some of the line deliveries, my God. But in this movie, it's the cop who is the dad of one of the roommates in the dorm that she lives in with Jenna Ortega and her sister, and he's also the dad of the new C-list Evan Peters. And the big shocker is that it's Richie's family. It's Richie's dad, who was the last Ghostface killer, who was dating their main character, Sam, which is just odd to me because it's like, how did they not know that this person is the dad? Why wouldn't they know about him? That was just kind of odd to me. which maybe that flew over my head. Maybe there's something I didn't see in the past. I don't know. It just feels cheap as a viewer when you're like, oh, okay. It's like, oh, if only you would have known how to kill me. Like, it's like Superman. Superman's like, haha, I'm fucking invincible, you idiot. If only you would have known that kryptonite's my weakness. And it's like, okay, well, how would I have known that? Like, if no one told you that, how would I have known that kryptonite is your weakness, kind of thing? So to have the character just show up and be like, ha ha ha, what you didn't realize is that these two are my kids and that I am secretly his father, even though you should have known that, and these are his siblings, and we're all very mad. I think that what they should have done is you start off and you have the cop in New York, and then you have Sam. She looks like she gets framed for these kills, and he's just like, listen up, you fucking little whore. I know what you did to my fucking son. And even if she's like, you're his dad? He's like, you bet your ass and you're gonna be behind bars for the rest of your life. You hear me? He like grabs her, fucking pulls her in. You hear me, bitch? You're going to jail. Like, freaks out, right? And then at the end, it's just like, by the way, I'm the killer and these are my kids. And you're like, oh, so that's how he knew. It's just odd. I don't know. It's convoluted and fucking stupid, but that's the answer to that question. To the kills. My God. The idea of getting stabbed by a knife is horrifying. I feel visceral pain, but watching people get stabbed by the knife over the course of 6 movies is just so boring. They introduce one time in this movie where you're like, ooh, okay, new kill. Because Ghostface gets a shotgun. They're in a little bodega and he has a shotgun and it's like, oh shit, okay. And then he kind of just like shoots it twice, I think, and then he drops it and runs away. So you're like, huh. Okay, and then you just watch people get stabbed in the stomach. Pretty much just the stomach. It's always right to the stomach. There's a couple of people who get stabbed in the face, you know, that's pretty cool. Somebody gets stabbed in the mouth and the eye and the nose, and then it's mostly just bellies. Little slaps like that. So it's like, I don't know. The kills weren't anything, you know, it's not like Terrifier. It's not like that. You know, you're not going into a Scream movie getting Terrifier. I was just stoked, you know, it was in a way, it was kind of messing with the tropes of the franchise of having the, you know, a shotgun instead, or maybe the Ghostface has a gun this time, which is like a cheap way, and it's not as intimate, but still. I did have tons of fun watching people die, which is kind of a twisted thing to say, but at the same time, if I'm going to a Scream movie, yeah, just, you know, just want to watch people die. In the first movie, you have times where it is people just getting stabbed and chased in their home, but there's also like a lot of like weird psychological kills. Like, you know, there's the classic scene where Drew Barrymore's boyfriend's on the back patio and he's like all duct taped up, and it's like more of like a twisted game, and that's kind of horrifying. I think that's what also makes like The Strangers, if you've ever seen that movie, so horrifying, is like, yes, they're not like superhuman people, but they just like, they mess with you. And that within itself makes you feel so like defenseless and helpless, and it's just like, I think we needed more of that instead of just Ghostface basically getting hit in the face. God, I don't know. How many times did Ghostface get hit in the face, bludgeoned with an object? Bludgeoned in the head, and no concussions. So, I mean, so many times. Boink, hit in the head, he falls down, gets back up and starts sprinting. You would think that there would be severe damage, even if it was split amongst the 3 of them. I'd say there's at least a solid 8 to 10 hits per person in the head. And then there's just like weird things too, because just to fixate on the stabbing, is the barometer of if a stab can kill you or not fluctuates per character. We have some characters who get stabbed and they just die, and then you have some people who get stabbed like a bunch of times. The biggest glaring one is Chad, who is one of the 4 survivors of the last movie. He gets stabbed like 18 times in the chest and stomach at the end of this movie, and then at the end you see him in an ambulance bed, like he's like, I'm okay, and you're like, what? And then the scene before that, his sister gets stabbed in the stomach twice on the subway, which, let me tell you something, I lived in Bushwick, Brooklyn for 6 months. That could not be a more accurate thing to happen. I've seen worse things happen on a subway train in New York City, and everybody in New York City does not care. I feel like people could see somebody get shot in the chest and they would just be like AirPods in and just be like looking at the ground. They just don't, no one cares. So to see that, I know I think I heard some people be like, yeah, right, in the movie theater. Oh, yeah, right. So no one's gonna help. And I'm like, no, go to New York, have someone stab you, and see how helpful people are, because it's not. But she gets stabbed twice in the stomach, and then at the end of the movie, after everything's said and done, you see her like sprinting up, so she probably got stabbed maybe a couple hours ago, and then she's like running up, and she's like, I know who the killer is. Dude, didn't you get stabbed twice in the stomach? Like, you would be in a hospital bed unconscious. And then, you know, just like little things where it's like there's altercations, and you can tell a scene is ending because you can hear the police sirens come. They always just come right at the last second, and it's just like, why even show the fucking cops? They're useless. There's 2 people in law enforcement in this movie, which is the main cop guy who is the worst actor in the whole film. I cannot believe there's no way he did more than one take. And then also the girl from the 4th movie who is now an FBI agent, and she's in it, and it's like she's wearing like a Ghost Rider jacket the whole time, and it's just people get stabbed all the time, and there's no repercussions. This movie is like, I wonder if it's scientifically accurate. That's what I want to know. I want to know if it's scientifically accurate. If you get stabbed that many times, because she gets stabbed too. She shows a scar. She's like, yep, I have my scar here. And she gets stabbed again. I'm like, how many times can a person get stabbed before there's just like, you just don't heal back? There's no bounce back anymore. If you've been stabbed 15 times, after a while, I feel like your body's just like, nah, we're done. And then thirdly, you know, how does it mess with the tropes of the slasher genre or the scream genre itself? The film does start off super, super strong with, usually how all these films begin is somebody answers the phone call, and that's like the cardinal rule. Don't pick up the phone. It's like letting Dracula into your home. In this one, it's a girl who's waiting on a date outside of a bar. She answers the phone, and it turns out that her date is lost. She goes to look for him, and she gets murdered in an alley by Ghostface. So it's kind of, it was a fun way to subvert that. And then it leads us to follow this Ghostface, which we see who the Ghostface is, which is also a subversion of expectations. Kind of cool that you immediately know who the killer is. And then we go back to his apartment, and he answers the phone. And now it opens up the actual Ghostface of these two kids who are gonna be the new Ghostface of this movie, but they get cut short by another one. So it was a really fun, strong start. I mean, for me, I was like, oh shit, okay, so this is like actually a pretty inventive new way to approach this. Right on. But as soon as we got back to Jenna Ortega and the other girl, we were like, oh wait, no, we still have an hour and a half. That's kind of how it felt for me. The only subversion I can think of is that none of the legacy characters in this movie die, which usually in other movies, there's always like one character, like I think in Scream 5, Dewey, who's like a cop. God, terrible name. He dies. And usually there's like a pivotal kind of main cast character that dies that has repercussions somehow. But in all these, they're still trucking on. But that's also because they want that sweet green, baby. Still waiting. Courtney Cox is sitting there. They walk down the fucking gothic church that she lives under in the crypts, and she's just like,
Scream 7? Alright, I guess I'll be a part of it again.
And they just basically, shoot her up with fucking like ghoul juice and revive her to come out and, be a part of the movie. They didn't get Sydney though. Neve Campbell, I think her name. I can't remember her name. We do have Courtney Cox's character. She does say, Sydney's taking her family and they're going out of town. She just wants to send her love. She's safe. And it's like, you have to name drop her somewhere in there. We have to be sure. Is Sydney okay? Is Sydney still okay after 30 years of getting attacked by the same person or same kind of thing? Is she all right? Okay, thank God. And then you have things like at the end of this one, there's 3 killers instead of 2. So there's that. They show the daughter who's actually one of the Ghostface. He does a fake death, but he just kind of has like a line at the end where he's like, it was easy enough. I pretty much just, before the cop showed up, I switched it out with an actual dead body, and there it is. You didn't see that, but I'm telling you. It was just dumb. Like, I mean, they didn't really do anything that felt like too grandiose or anything, but the movie wasn't bad. It's the worst thing that a movie could be, which is just kind of forgettable. The only thing that was memorable about the movie was the amount of times I laughed any time the cop opened his mouth, and just by how horrible Jenna Ortega is at acting. I can't believe it. It's physically, I couldn't believe it. She plays Wednesday Addams so well because there's no emotion there. She can just stand there like this. Oh my God, wow. How did she pull off that performance? That's crazy. All in all, this movie is a 5 out of 10. It's very middle of the road. Like I said, if you got free time this weekend and you want to see a fun little slash 'em up movie, it's fine. It's dumb enough too to where it's like you get a couple laughs out of it. I look at this and people, I've been seeing on some recent things too, people say, did anybody really expect Scream 6 to be good? Did anybody really expect this thing to be good, etc.? And it's like, just because something is either the 6th sequel, or if something is intentionally trying to be campy or stupid, it doesn't like give you a get out of jail free card with any kind of critique that somebody could have of the movie. You can have a movie that's really dumb, but it's dumb to such an extreme that it like is fun, and it's like over the top. It doesn't take itself seriously. Like, you can have a dumb story and have it still be structurally sound and satisfying, and like it's not trying to like blow your mind with anything, but it's like laying all these like tracks for it to be a fun, memorable movie. When I saw people say that they actually thoroughly enjoyed Willy's Wonderland, it blew my fucking mind. Because, yeah, Nick Cage is in it, and it's like, it's just a silly movie about animatronics. But there's nothing fun. Like, it's the same thing over and over again. I think that people also, like, when I'm trying to be critical with movies, it's not that I'm, like, trying to shit all over the movie and tell you how terrible it is. I guess I'm trying to lay out why I wish that it would have been something more fun. All I want to do when I go into a movie theater is have fun. When I say that I watch a movie, I just want to feel like it's a visual experience from beginning to end. And sitting there and giving the excuse that things are intentionally bad, or you should like something because it's like, or not that you should like it, that things are good because it's trying to be bad and stupid isn't an excuse. It's like a weird form of irony where people are like, they don't ever have to actually commit to a joke or anything because it's like, well, I know I'm being stupid. It's just cheap. It's fucking annoying. And I think that like, there's so many films that like know their place and still, even like, Terrifier 2, I think, is a good example in terms of this movie, where Scream 6 follows the same kind of tropes and it has terrible acting, the script is stupid, and the kills are all really forgettable and annoying. Terrifier 2 is almost all of those things, except guess what? It knows that, like, hey, we can go so over the top with these kills and go totally insane to where you can leave that theater and it's going to be 10 times more memorable than something that's so middle of the road that it's forgettable. I think that you can do a Scream movie in 2023 and really try to push the envelope of what a Scream movie is. If it was just a Ghostface with a shotgun the whole time, that would be more entertaining than seeing him just with a knife the whole time, just because that's like what he is, you know? If you're gonna be bad, be fucking awful. If you're gonna try to actually be good and do something that is, you know, trying to push the edge or trying to actually resonate in people's hearts, then swing for the fences. Don't be a Scream 6 where everyone's gonna forget about it as soon as it's out of theaters. No one's going to revisit this film, and they're only ever going to talk about the first movie. I hope in the future that if there is more movies that have 6 sequels, that they're fucking crazy, but we'll see. As for this movie, like I said, not the worst thing in the world, but as somebody who paid money to see it, and you just want to have a good time, I just want a little more, I guess. Just want a little more. That's all I have to say. Willy's Wonderland fucking sucks. Banana Splits fucking sucks. Suck my dick. You know what I would have wished they would have done to subvert expectations? I wish that they would have put Jenna Ortega big up on the poster like they did, have her right front and center, and then at some point in the movie, maybe halfway through, you have a scene where they just fucking rip her face off, and they just like throw in a toilet, and then Ghostface sits down, he just takes a big shit all over it. He just pulls down his pants, and he still has the voice modifier on, and he's just like, what do you think about this, Jenna Ortega? And he says her actual name, and then it just...